everyone, and welcome back to the Aspie Bridge. We have a phenomenal but a very important topic to discuss today. And if you saw my double feature, we just did trauma. Now we're working on loss, the most profound loss, which is unfortunately death. When we lose someone that we really treasure in our lives. And I have two wonderful guests with me today. I have Edith Taves. Is that how I pronounce it, Edith?
Yes, correct. You are right.
Awesome. And I have Pat Ackley Roth. And they're both have a message to share with you. Edith is going to share her personal story and how she picked up the pieces to move forward into becoming a coach. Pat also unfortunately lost her husband and went into a deeper study of grief coaching. So between the three of us, I'm hoping that we can impart some important information. But before I go there, with all the awesome Aspies that are out in the world telling you what the traits of autism are, I chose the mission of the Aspie Bridge to take you and help you with a coach to go to the other side of this Aspie Bridge with a bridge builder, someone who can hold your hand and walk you through with information on solving this difficult challenge. They're not going to fix you. They're not going to tell you. They're going to use their steps and their knowledge to help you if you're in encountering this particular problem in your life, or you know you're about to because someone in your life has a terminal illness. So I'd like to welcome in my two guests now. Hello, Edith. Hello, Pat. I'm going to start with Edith first and have her introduce herself, and I'll let Pat, you can introduce yourself.
Okay.
Go for it, Edith.
Oh, yes. Hi. I'm so grateful for this opportunity that you, Suzanne. It's just really an amazing to have this platform to talk about how we are going to go and move forward when things happen. It's not like when you lose someone that's really, you could say at some point you have a doubt, but you're still breathing and you have to kind of like really make a decision to move forward in spite of what you're going through. And my husband had cancer for like several years, but then we got married and he had MDS. And during the time that I came to the United States 2018, he was okay. The transplant before that was done was really like working well, but it was just enough for 4 years and a half. In 2021, the MDS came back, and that was the time that we have to go through the process of another transplant. And it was the same time that it was like many people that you should be ready. Because for me, this you would never be ready. You would never be ready for this.
No, no. Edith, we're having a problem with your voice a little bit. It's cutting in and out. We want to make sure we hear all the goodness about you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Keep going.
Okay, yes. That's the kind of thing that I was like really going through. So 2021, I just like fast forward, cancer, the MDS came back, and like we're working on that towards another transplant, but the transplant failed. So 2023, he passed away, and part of me when he passed away died. Don't get me wrong, I'm a really strong person, and at that point, I was thinking that nothing could break me anymore because I was coming from the environment that it was really hard. I came from the Philippines, and losing a spouse, it's really a different story. And I'm just so grateful because this season of my time, when I was actually going through those grief, I have support from my church members. I have really a great support with friends. So it was helping me to build my life in a way back again. But after 18 months, basically I was losing my purpose. Part of me like died as well when he passed away. And it was during that time that I was really have to rethink about what future can I make, even he already passed away.
Mm.
Yeah, so that's the time that I was really reaching out to get and really deeper. There was a time that I was really like going through like after death paperwork and documents, and I was like doing all this thing, calling the bank and like closing whatever account I was doing. And right there, it hit on me that life is actually too short and I have to prepare myself. So I decided to honor him. So I started writing, published a book entitled My Loss His Gain. And this book is really helping a lot of people right now because the process that I'm going through when I was writing it, it's giving me that release that even though he's not here, but his life with him is something I can live, and the love that I have for him, I can actually serve others with that love. And
Mm.
yeah, so it was just really kind of like amazing when you realize that there is still purpose for you, even though your husband is not there. So I move on, I move forward and honor his legacy. And now I'm really, I would say, the pain will still be there. It's a wave, it's not going to go away. It would be like season, like Mother's Day, like Sunday. It was still hard. But when knowing that you have this love and then you can still share it with others and help others to build it, to build their life again. And I really love right now we have this LLCI belt in honor of him. So I call this one purpose driven coaching to help women, to help those people that are touched by loss, that they can move forward, even though how hard the situation is. Nobody will do that for you. You have to really go and make a step towards your healing and the becoming of that person.
Oh, that touches my heart. I'm
Thank you.
so glad that you're so strong that you can take that pain and instead of pulling the sheets up over your head as Mary talks about and saying, I'm done, you took your pain and you turned it into a message to help others. And I think that's awesome. I think that's a monumental step forward, a walk across this bridge back into life, as I would say. Now, let's hear from Pat and her experiences, and maybe the two of you can really learn from each other. And then I'd like to share a story about how death has impacted me. But first, I want to make sure that I get uh, Pat's awesome story and her what she's been doing in life. I haven't talked to Pat in a little while, so this is going to be fun.
Yeah. I didn't catch Edith. When did your husband pass away?
2023, March 22nd.
March 22nd?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Thank you. I just like to keep track of those things. My husband passed away August 26th of 2021.
Wow.
I have been a life coach and a life master consultant for 11 years, and that really helped me look inside of things. But I lost 7 immediate family members in 2 years.
Oh,
So
wow.
time counted one on top of the other. One was my brother. 9 days later was my husband.
I'm
So
sorry.
my head was in such a fog. I was in so much pain. And another fellow coach, life coach friend of mine, was into the grief recovery. So I contacted, after I lost my husband, I contacted them and I went through the training. I went through the same program that I offer other people. It's like a cloud lifted. And I understood the emotions that go with grief. Now, every grief is unique, so everyone's going to experience different things. There are no stages. The stages are before the death. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross wrote on death and dying. That's coming up to the death. Where I do is go from here forward, and I will work through the program with them. But I've lost children, I've lost my husband, siblings, my parents, a best friend of 71 years. And you get a little, I'm used to it isn't the right word, I think.
Mm.
You just understand.
Yes, correct.
Because there's so many different things that people will say and do that don't help you. When
Yeah.
someone is going through grief, they want to be helped, they want to be hugged, and they want to be heard. If you have a newborn baby, you don't hand it to just anyone to hold it. Your grief is like that newborn baby. Not everyone's going to understand. Family and friends are wonderful and they try to help, but they're not always the best advisors. And I didn't have the money to pay thousands of dollars to a therapist, but when I went to that grief recovery, got licensed in that, it explained to me and helped me know me. I said, there's got to be other people out there that don't have a soft place to fall. They don't have thousands of dollars to spend on, counselors for years, and they do keep you going for years. And I don't do that. I give them much better time. I've got like the 4-week program with the standing firm, but I also have another one that's 8 weeks, and that one goes really deep. Yeah, really deep into that one. Is my voice clear?
It is. It is.
Okay. I'm hearing background noise too. Yeah.
Yeah, I am too. I'm not sure where it's coming from.
Yeah. But just the reward is to help the people, to see the change in them. Because when they come to me, it's almost like they're locked into the sadness. Anytime there's a loss or a change in a regular pattern, there's a void. There's that loss. And that's where grief comes in. And I go in there and I help them. I'm their bridge, going from where they are to where they want to be. And to help them understand what they're going through and then want to go on and rebuild a new life. And then I'll take them over to the life coaching. But some people might suppress their grief. And I had one couple that it was 10 years later after they lost their daughter. And they were mourning so much. But the key there was that he turned to drinking and she was crying all the time. So as I worked with them, I worked with her mainly. But as we worked together, and she was understanding the emotions and things that she'd gone through and was still going through, they started talking together. He backed off on the drinking. She stopped crying because she was heard. And they were mourning together. So it was not only helping her through grief, I think it helped her in her marriage also. So sometimes it trickles down into the other relationships that they have too. But if you have someone that has, say, closed themselves down, they're not reaching out to other people. Not only are they sad, but sometimes they become very bitter. They might be angry. Why did God let this happen?
Exactly.
And they're justifiable in their angry. They're hurt. But to put it in the right place, to understand it, we don't say goodbye to that person. They're always in our heart. We say goodbye to the pain that came from the loss. That pain is what we want to get rid of. I always tell them, physically, they go to that grave we visit. Spiritually, they've gone to God, but emotionally, they're always in our heart. And you can love the person in your life.
Absolutely. Oh,
you can
both of your stories are very heartwarming. And Pat, to keep getting up after one after the other. And I remember the story of losing your brother and then losing your husband so close. And I'm just like aching for you. And I get that. And I'm sitting in the memory care at my dad's nursing home, knowing that this is inevitable. This is what's going to happen. He has Alzheimer's. And now I think because of Breathing Institute, I see death in a much different way. And my family was even like, you're really very stoic. Well, I guess I took into account the fact that I knew it was a transition and not a death.
Yes.
And I think that helped a lot. And I still see a cardinal outside and I say, hello, Dad, how are you? And that's been my way of coping. Now, I didn't have those skills way back when I was a 10-year-old girl. I was in a house fire where I had gone to a slumber party, and unfortunately, there was one girl who had said something kind of mean to my best friend, who was the birthday girl, and she went out to the couch to sleep on the couch. And at 10, it's like you think after the fact, I should have said, I should have done, I should have been, I should have. The should haves come up. I should have. And at 10, I realized now I wasn't emotionally ready to take on those shoulds. But
Mm-hmm.
yet I still felt guilty. Unfortunately, the house burned down and she wasn't able to get out. And that was my first experience with death. Was at 10 years old, losing someone who, when you don't have a lot of friends to begin with, and then you lose your very best friend, the only way I knew at 10 years old how to cope was I almost put it behind me like she hadn't even died. I could pick up the phone and call her anytime. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when my family started to give me help. Like, unfortunately, that's not going to work. So I think because I had dealt with that death, when my dad came and I had the understanding of BTI that it's not a forever gone, it's a transition across the veil,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I was able to cope better. The other thing I wanted to add on to what you were both saying is the fact that everyone does grieve in their own way.
Yeah.
Everyone, and I think it's sad when people say, "You've got this, keep going."
Mm-hmm.
The cheerleading, the words help them. They don't help you. It's an insecurity that they might have, thinking that by telling you you've got this or keep going, it's going to somehow miraculously make your life better. And I even see this in my own grieving of not being like everybody else or having a challenged mother. Keep going, you've got this. Well, words without action start to become empty.
Yeah.
Start to feel like, do they really care, or are they pacifying themselves because they don't know quite what to say?
Exactly. I agree.
And that's why I wanted to have both of you come on today, because I think the three of us can help my listeners, but help each other come to realize that there are people like us who do understand.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if I can help my listeners understand that they're not alone either. I have
Mm-hmm.
two wonderful guests on with me today who can help you through this pain. You don't have to go it alone.
Yeah.
What was one step you took, Edith, when you said goodbye to your husband, went home, and said, I still have my life to live? What is one thing you did for yourself, self care? Can
So
you remember?
yeah, I really remember. I literally come to my senses that he's not coming back. So the first month was really busy doing all the preparation for the celebration of life. So you are not even grieving. So one of the pastor was really amazing. On the day that we are going to go and have the celebration of life, he pulled me to the side and said, Edith, tomorrow morning, when everything is done, this is the time that it will sink in. I want you to remember that you can call me, you can talk to me, and there's people that's there for you.
Yeah.
And again, because you're not grieving yet, you did not put these words properly in your head, and you just continue moving whatever you need to do. So, true enough, the following day, I came home and I woke up 5 o'clock in the morning because it was really tiring, the preparation of everything. And then it was there that I realized I was so mad, mad as in mad, because again, I came from the Philippines. I thought I would have the life with him forever. Like, that's kind of like mindset. You never even think about that end of life. And during the time that I was washing his favorite mug, I was in the sink. And I was just so mad. And I was just like, you should not be leaving, Ricky. How dare you? And then I realized when people actually will tell you, like Pat was saying, we will not allow people to tell us how we grieve. At that point, I just pour out my heart out so
Good.
that I was mad. I was mad, mad. And then after I was mad, then this kind of the feeling of like you just want to sob, like deep within, like there's something in the gut that like just like coming out. And I was sobbing like so hard that I was so tired. And then this is the fun part. I went back to sleep because it's still 5 o'clock. And that was the time that I really made a decision that I have to let him go, because this is the fun part. In my trance, in between sleep and being awake, I had this trance that he visited me smiling up from heaven. And I wrote this one in my book because that was a turning point. Because when you're honest to yourself, God will meet you in the level where you are.
Yeah.
God has to do that because He knows my personality. This is not for everyone. I talked to so many people, and I was like, I'm not saying that you would have this experience, but God knows my heart. So He was smiling up there, and in my heart of hearts, I hear His voice. Jesus was kind of like telling me, Edith, He's okay here. He's happy with me, and He's not in pain. And I saw Him smiling, and right there, I was just like, I love Him enough that I don't want Him to go through pain. And I said, you know what? You're happy. Then I have to accept that. And that was the turning point that I pick up I called it fragment of our lives. Everything, the fragment, the love, everything that we shared together, put it in that kind of like brokenness. And I said, Lord, I give this to your feet. Use it for your glory. And this is very painful. I said, this is really very painful. I'm really broken. But it was in that brokenness. I call it like a launching for God to use you.
Yeah.
Because you have nothing. Like at that point, I have nothing to give. But then it was that moment of time that I heard God. You know what, Edith? I see you. My favorite verse is in Genesis 16, verse 13, that it actually says that God sees you. And during the time, I have so many friends. Don't get me wrong. I have so many support. People love me and like, want to be there. But when you go into your private room, just you, it's really between you and God that you really have to go and cry out. And I said, Lord, you really have to go and walk me through and hug me into fullness. And that was exactly what God was doing. It's still kind of like waves. There's two waves that come. But then when you are grounded, that's my self-care. I'm really grounded myself in the Word of God. And BTI, especially the Standing Firm with Mary, I visited it again and again and again. And yesterday, I kind of like messaged that one up to my even friends that I made an appointment with myself that Edith, you have to sit down. We have to talk about it. Because you really have, I honor the part of you that's still sad, but I also honor you for the step you're taking. And that was so helpful because I was like, now I can literally talk to myself. That's part of my self-care. That you know what? I'm going to love you even though you're still in this way, and then I'm still going to support you when you will be moving forward. So that one, my paradigm was like, yeah, okay, thank you. So I felt like I felt so good when I wrote that. That's how I really take care of myself. Part of that is really listening to what's going on and really putting it at the foot of the cross.
Yeah. You're muted, Suzanne.
Yes. As I was saying, that still inner voice, what an amazing comfort it can be to us to help us in those times of loneliness. Even when we're surrounded by people, we're still within ourselves. Pat, would you like to answer the same question? What kind of emotion did you first feel, and how did you move through it when you hit your brother's death and then your husband's death?
Well, my husband went to Dallas, and he was diagnosed with lung cancer. And when the doctor took me down to the recovery, I lost it. He was standing there holding me, and my husband was just calm as can be. And he looked at me and he said, "What's wrong with you? You're always the strong one." I said, "I'm not strong right now, John." I mean, I hurt so bad. But I think he'd been through so much with the lung transplant and everything that he said, "I'm tired of doctors and hospitals and pills and pokes." So for him, I was happy. But for me, it broke my heart because he was the love of my life. And they gave him 6 to 14 months to live. We came back to Nebraska and he died 5 weeks later. So anticipatory grief is when you know someone's going to pass away. But I thought we had more time.
Yes.
So at the time, we had brought him home from the hospital on Tuesday. And Thursday morning, the hospice nurse was there taking his vitals, and John's sister was there, and she's a nurse. And she looked at me and she felt his feet, and she said, "It won't be long." And I went around there and I grabbed his hand, and they just left the room. And I just crawled up in the bed and just held him and humped him until he quit breathing. I kissed him one last time. But that first year is so confusing because you've got so much to take care of with, like you said, Edith, with the paperwork and the bills and arrangements, and you're so busy with all that, and you're so much in pain. It's like a pendulum that you're over here. And then the second year, I said, in ways was harder than the first year because
Yes.
the second year, you had more time on your hands. You had more time for your mind to play tricks on you. Okay. And then the third year, it swings back into the middle. And once in a while, yeah, you'll hear pain, or once in a while, it might tip a little bit. But basically, it stays pretty much the same. So my third year was calmer because I understood my emotions more. I had taken care of. And if my mind drifted, I let it because I don't ever want to forget him. But it'll be 4 years in August. And now I feel in this last year that, he's not coming home. I'm comfortable going home to the house by myself. If I want to go out to dinner, I go out to dinner. I don't have to have someone else do it. But I feel him many times. And Edith, I do believe that they visit us. John came to me in my sleep.
Nice. I love to hear that.
No, my mother did, and so did my stepmother. But when I formed a grief group here at my church, and I was telling them about John coming to me, and I said, he come from behind and put his arm around me. And I said, I didn't see him, but I could feel him. I knew his touch. I knew the smell of him. I know it was him without a doubt. And one of the other girls in the group just dropped her mouth open, and she said, that's the same thing my husband did. Since then, I have read that that's not uncommon, that they just put their arms around to let you know that they're with you. I had one experience with my sister, though, that it was in broad daylight. That was, but it was so heartwarming because she was a quilter. And my brother-in-law was selling the house. He said, if you don't come and get her sewing stuff, I'm going to just take it to Goodwill. I said, no. So 4 different weekends, I would go over there and pack things up. The last weekend, I was there by myself in the house, and I'm working away, and it was just like I could just feel this energy in the room. And it was warm, and it was a happy energy. I know it was her, and I could see her face smiling because I was treasuring what she treasured. Now, I'm a dressmaker. She was a quilter, but those were her treasures. Those were her treasure of herself. And I was doing it out of love. And I think she let me know that it was okay. So I believe they come to us. And sometimes it's just little ways. Maybe it's not a big experience like that. Maybe in little ways, like in my sewing room, my sister got me this. I drop a pin, I pick it up. She said, I'm tired of seeing you pick up the pins. And she got me one of those mechanical extension things, got the magnet on the end. And she gave me that. So I just go around picking my pins that way. So the other day I was using it, and I put it back, and I stuck it back up there, and I just said, thank you, Sharon. I love you and I miss you. So we have these little reminders that they have been here. And I treasure those.
If I can jump in there for one moment.
Sure.
We all have a way of honoring our past. And as I say, I use the cardinal coming to visit me for my dad. But I went one step forward. I named my younger daughter, who happened to turn out to be blonde like Kimberly. I named my younger daughter after her, in memory of her, so that anytime I was talking to my daughter Kimberly, I also had in my heart Kimberly Goodwin. And that was a way that I think my daughter could live out Kimberly Goodwin's life, is by honoring her with the same name.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, just as you were talking about the pen, I'm sure there are so many ways that we can attribute something special to our past loves.
Yeah.
What is one way you'd like to remember, Edith?
So right now, I'm really looking forward to. I still have the ashes. So after the, like what Pat were saying, the second year was really hard. So we're about to go, like to go and do the ashes, and then my mother-in-law, because my father-in-law passed away in 2021, and they did their ashes like around 2020, I think 2023. I forgot which date before Thanksgiving. The problem is that she said it's really hard. So she said, do not do yours first because it's really hard. So I waited, but then it's behind my ashes. Like when I sat down, I will see that. So I said, you know what? I will keep you like forever when I can. But part of me is really wanting for him in a way. So I'm planning to go actually buy a tree because I can buy a tree for the memory and plant somewhere, and they're going to go and put the ashes there. What I want. But another thing, he always wants to go to Montana all the way to Canada, that train. So I'm kind of like thinking I will take the trip, just get some of the ashes and spread it over there. Because he always talk about it. He always wants us to like, sweetheart, we will take the train going to Canada. And I was like, what's the big deal about it? I never think about it until recently. So I think I will do that to honor him.
Oh, I love that. That's
Thank
so awesome. Pat, you were going to say something. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. I was curious to find out what Edith would remember her husband by.
It's gone.
Oh, I'm
I get
sorry.
so absorbed in listening to other people that I forget what I was going to say. So that's okay. If it's important, it'll come back. It's just
Absolutely.
everyone grieves differently, and that's okay. Don't ever let anyone tell you, oh, you should be over that by now. You need to keep moving on. No, we don't move on. We move forward. And when we move forward, we still carry the love of that person with us. My
Yes.
husband, well, this is the crest of his wedding ring.
Oh, oh,
And I said, and I will wear mine forever. But when the jeweler called me, she says, I have a problem. I said, what's that? And she said, there's some abrasion. I said, you mean the stones are scratched? And she said, yeah. And I said, great. And she said, what? That means he wore it every day. He never left it laying in a drawer. And he wasn't perfect, and I wasn't perfect, but this was perfect for our life. So it represented our love, and I've never taken it off. So, we can't be perfect. We're human.
That's so great.
Yeah, but we
So
can
great.
do things to honor them. John was a member of Kiwanis too, and we set up a scholarship there, or a trust thing, so they can draw the interest off of that. But there's different ways that we can honor those people. Some people might plant a tree or something like that. And I continued to send them money in honor of him. I said I didn't have a lot of money to do, but even small things mean a lot. Because, like Mary says, baby steps will get you up Mount Everest.
exactly.
Small things are also important when you're honoring the person that you lost.
Okay.
I still sleep with this pillow. And if somebody else thinks it's silly, I don't care. It helps me.
That's right. That's right. So I know each of us have gone through our training through Brave Thinking Institute. Can you think of one brave thinking tool that you picked up either through coaching, or Pat, I know you and I were both in Brave Thinking Masters. Can you think of one tool that you can impart to my listeners in order for them to gracefully have self care for themselves, but also to move forward?
Mm-hmm.
Can you think of a tool that would be you can impart to them?
The one that pops in my mind first, I mean, I think they all apply, but is notice what you're noticing. If you're having a day that you're being depressed, notice that you're having that depressed day, and you can control that. It's okay to have that. You just don't stretch it out for days and months, but acknowledge it, feel depressed, but then you keep going on. But you notice that you're in that kind of a mood. So then you also can notice when you're feeling better and when you're helping yourself grow forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I,
That's right. Don't pitch your tent. Know how long you're going to allow yourself to have the I don't want to call it a pity party in this case. And sometimes we call it a pity party because it's a problem that's here on earth. That's but know how long you're going to allow yourself to feel down. And as long as it's not month after month,
yeah.
give yourself the grace to say, yeah, I just don't want to go anywhere today. I
Mhm.
don't want to do anything, and that's okay.
Yeah.
What is one tool that you'd like to impart, Edith?
The very thing that I really love, I'm helping like my students right now with the standing firm. I'm very big about it. Really going through that standing firm is what Mary were like saying. It's really harvesting the good. I like when you are going to dare the dark. And the last dream builder, I was so grateful that I was able to do it because I was having a book signing. And then I was studying, I could not be there the entire time. But when I came back on the afternoon session, Mary was talking about how are you going to go, and like he was talking about the black belt that she had, and even though I was listening to Mary all over again and again, a new thing came up to me again that day. Because grief, I think Pat knows that like sometimes you're tired of being sad. Like there were a season like I'm just so tired, like I could not let it go. There were times that it's easier. There's those days that it's harder. For me, February 14 all the way to I said I think March 24 was really hard. 22nd was the second year. And there was part of me that was just like really complaining why I could not finish it off. But when Mary's dream builder, there are times that you really go and kind of like feel it, release the feeling. And if you need to linger there a little bit and ask what is in there to learn,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, oh my gosh. So that day, because it was the book signing, and again, the emotion is very high, I was telling myself, well, Edith, now we are going to harvest the good. We will sit down and let's go and check what's in there in this season right now. Because I'm going back to emotion because people tell me the pain that they have. And it's not that
Mm-hmm.
their pain, it's just you feel them. So I
Mm-hmm.
have the feeling of like I miss my husband, I lost my husband, and here's the emotion of people sharing to me how stated they were. And now how are you going to go and use that emotion? So in deep in my heart, I hear the spirit saying that now you have all this emotion. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
And so I was just like, after our dream builder, I was just sitting there and I was just really like, I have this one right now in my hand. So help me to go and like customize everything that you put in my hand. And I was able to do right now for Tucson widows that I'm able to and like walk them through, not necessarily what they're going through. It might just they need someone to talk to. So at that point in time, I feel that I'm there just to listen to them, like what we're saying. Sometimes words It's not even like necessary when you will to the people. Just be there. So I pray for them all the time. If you need somebody to talk to, I'm here. So it created a space for us to build this group. The people were like, we need to go out and like, and then I realized, you know what, this thing that's happened to you, it's not really happening to you. It's actually working for the best. It
Mhm.
started that way, but when you realize that there is good that you can harvest, and it's not still making you stronger, you are still there. But then even in your weakness, you know that you are linked together with the people at the same thing. And then the wavelength for these two people coming together, they know that they are here. They know that you know what they're going through, and you will not tell them what to do. It's such a great bond. I was like, you know what? Don't like that my husband was not here, but I think I love the feeling of being there for those people that's going through the same tough times with me.
That was beautiful.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. When we have hard times, and I had talked to Pat about this, there is a living grief. I want to wrap up our session today with living grief. There
Yeah.
is a time when we come to accept that things are not going to change. And no matter how hard we try, we can't try harder.
True.
It is up to the other person to decide that they want to change. In the case of losing someone off of the face of the earth, they're obviously not able to change. And so there's a grief. But when you have that person still on earth and they're not willing to change, you have to harvest the good just as much there. Well, okay, I have life. You guys would not have met me if my mother hadn't given me life.
Yeah.
And I learned how I have to take care of myself. And I also learned I had to speak up, and nobody could tell me to be quiet. I had an incident not too long ago where my mother looked at me while I was at the dinner table with my two brothers and said, she would bark at me because I was part of the conversation. And I said, no, that's where I change. I will no longer be silent while you pay attention to my brothers. And so the harvesting the good in that case was I'm taking back my power. I'm taking back. You can do what you choose. And even with Mother's Day, as I'm sure you can both imagine, as you just celebrated Mother's Day, I stood up for myself and I said, this is not a relationship unless two people are willing to put in the effort.
Correct. It's true.
True. It takes both.
So it does. It really does. And as much as we can make ourselves become better people, stronger people, help others, we have to take care of ourselves first.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that is a lesson I want to impart to all of my listeners and say thank you to both of you. Do you have any last words you'd like to share? Pat, we'll let you go first this time.
Well, if they go to my website, I offer them a free 1-hour conversation. They can talk about loss, death. They can talk about life, whatever they want to talk about, and it's no charge. They get a full hour. So if they go to patackleyroth.com and on the conversation section, it'll take them to my calendar where we'll have a time to talk, and I will be glad to talk to them. No problem.
That's perfect. We'll also put your picture and your bio on the Facebook group page,
Okay.
the
Thank you.
Aspie Bridge, just as I did with Edith. Edith, what are your final words for today?
So really, for those, it's not if, it's when. When we go through this season of our lives, don't feel alone. To all the listeners right now, there might be people that's losing a job, losing like something important, getting like into something that's really devastating to your life. Please don't do it alone. I'm always reaching to my like people, even I did not know that they have loss or something. People could be right now very happy. You look at them, but they're going through something. So if you are that person right now listening in this broadcast with Suzanne, I'm so grateful for this. Please reach out. we need each other, and there's so many of us that wants to help you even we're going through tough times ourselves. We need each other. I love people when even they go through something will reach out to me, and for me that was like that's love because they're going through something. So please do that. And I know, again, I would say it's when, like it's not if, because we are still in this life, we are still in this circumstances in the human form. Reach out to anyone, if you have a friend. Do not make, do not feel that you are a burden, because we need each other. That's why we are social being. And if you want, and this season it might help you. The title of this one is "My Loss, His Gain," because this is really the point. Yeah. So this is really the point that I realized that it was, yes, it was my loss, but they're gaining something. So please do that. Suzanne will be here, Pat will be here. Reach out to people so that we would be able to help each other. This journey is about us, like getting together, helping each other, and know that yeah, God is here to save us.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is just a piece of your life. It's one chapter in your book of life. It's not your whole life. So understand that this is a section. Like one day you talked about being angry. One day I was angry at John because it was just a mess. And I said, "Oh, why did you do this?" And then I realized, Mary had said at a conference something, only a part of me was angry. The rest of me loved him completely. And knowing that the part of me that loved him was much bigger and stronger than the anger, it was easy to let the anger go. And I've never had a time like that since then.
That's so good, Pat. That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. I think
Oh,
mine was really, I was really upset and mad with cancer. So that's the point that was like, you robbed me of my husband. But yeah, it's really going through this emotion. And when it comes,
yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
We learn by
Absolutely.
yeah.
So I want to say thank you to both of you for coming today. I am so blessed to have you helping me help my Aspie individuals who may be looking at this or have just gone through this. Know that there are people out there, that they're not alone. They're not stuck on this side of the Aspie Bridge instead of going back into life and living a fulfilling life, because I have wonderful people like you who can help them.
And they're
And
not
I'm
alone. I really want them to know they are not alone, because sometimes when you're so deep in grief, you feel very isolated that no one understands. You're not alone. We do understand. And we're
we
here.
do.
and Suzanne,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for really doing what you're doing. That's what I was really like, appreciate what you're doing, because you're stepping out with that, educating people where you are right now, and like having people know how passionate you are with what you're doing, so it will be educating more people. And doing this, it encourages me because you stepped out of your comfort zone. So thank you so much for that, and like bringing us over here. It's just a blessing for me to talk about my husband, but above all, that one is what you're doing for the community. For I know when people hear this, not everyone might be, but just one person that will be able to hear your story. For me, for myself personally, I am so proud of you, and so thank you. And Pat, thank you as well. Your life is amazing. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Well, I
I've
have
been
one major word for both of you. Welcome to my bridge builders.
oh, thank you, Suzanne. We go
Thank
back a long ways, don't we?
We certainly do. And before Pat, even before I knew I was autistic, I met you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Such
And
a
the
story.
purpose of the Aspie Bridge is to offer those resources that people don't talk about and they have to go find on their own. And when I discovered I was autistic, and so many topics were not discussed with me, so many things were assumed that I either already knew or I couldn't handle it. That's why I created the Aspie Bridge and all of you wonderful bridge builders, because I said, I'm done. I'm done with people not getting the information that will make their lives better. And so often there are people out in society who just tell you how to do it. And I'm like, no. you need information, not do this.
Yeah.
Right,
You
right.
don't need fixing because you're not broken. You need help.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you,
Thank you so
Suzanne.
much.
And Edith, it's nice to meet you. I
Nice
hope
meeting
we'll talk
you.
again.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. Thank you, Suzanne. Have a great day, guys.
Yes.
Thank you, both of
That's
you.
to all your listeners.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Have a wonderful day.
You
Yes.